So maybe you're in a situation that you don't want to be in, a job situation. Maybe you're on your way there right now. Maybe you're on your way home. Maybe you're actually there watching this while you're at that job that you don't like. The challenge is, how do you get through it? How do you make the best of it when you're not in a position where you can easily pivot and do something different? I want to offer 3 ways to think about it. Not tactics that you can use to make it better, but sort of ways to approach it so that you can learn the most from the experience, get the most out of it without it eating you alive. Here's the first one. You don't need to make your case. In other words, you don't need to find reasons that it's not working. You already know that it's not working. You don't need to keep coming up with reasons. See, he just did the thing again. That's the thing that I hate. I have to get out of here. You already know. We want to move on from that. We want to accept that this is the decision that has been made. You know that you're done. And you don't have to relitigate it. You don't have to prove it in a court of law. You don't have to have reasons stacked up. You don't have to have the receipts. So what is really freeing is to stop collecting them. And what that means is that you're going to put your focus elsewhere. You might even think about things that are working. You don't have to. You don't have to find the things that you want to feel grateful for. But I promise you won't forget that you want to quit this job or that you want to leave this situation. That is something that if that changes, you'll know, and you'll know in a big way. But we're not going to count on that. We're not going to track it. We're not going to focus on it day to day. And what that means too is that you won't be able to have those conversations where you download to somebody else. Like, oh, here's all the stuff that happened that I don't like. And here's all the proof that my boss is a jerk or that this company is headed for doom. And it's sort of unsatisfying in that way because then it's like, hey, this thing happened on this call and I want to complain about it. It's a perfect example, the perfect sort of, metaphor for everything that's wrong. But instead, we're going to let it go and put our attention elsewhere. And when you practice that, because it is a practice, you're not going to instantly let all that stuff go. But when you practice noticing, okay, I'm paying attention to that thing because it's validating. It's validating the feeling that I have about that this isn't working. See that thing? You notice that you're doing that and that you realize how, to a degree, that's reinforcing the negative feelings. It doesn't mean that there's no reason to be unhappy. It doesn't mean that it's okay, whatever is happening, but that you're realizing that by focusing on what's not working, you're getting something out of that and reinforcing, finding more things that aren't working, which makes you feel good for a minute, sort of self-righteous and satisfying for a minute. But overall, it's like a sugary snack. It's not going to make you feel good once that minute passes. So stop keeping the receipts. Stop tracking what you don't like. Day by day, shift your focus elsewhere. Along with that, you can adjust your expectations. Now, importantly, this does not mean adjusting your standards. Your standards can be here, but your expectations can be here. And then this frustration that happens in this gap starts to go away because you start to expect what is most likely to happen. You expect that people are going to continue to behave the way they've behaved. You're going to expect that the organization is going to continue to do what it's been doing. You're going to expect that these little things will go wrong because stuff is broken. And those things will continue to go wrong because the stuff is still broken. So that's all normal. And so when you adjust your expectations, you recognize, yep, my standards can still be here, and I'm acknowledging this isn't what I want. What I want is here. What's happening is here. But then if you adjust your expectations down here, instead of expecting things to match your standards and constantly being frustrated, then you can cope a little bit better because you didn't go in hoping that nothing was going to go wrong today or hoping that this person wasn't going to be a jerk who's always a jerk. And there's something freeing about that. Yes, it's frustrating, and probably for a lot of people listening to this is even more frustrating, because I'm saying, okay, you don't want me to focus on what's not going wrong. You want me to lower my expectations. Like, does that mean that I'm saying all this is okay, that I'm just accepting that this stuff is terrible? You are accepting that it's terrible, but you're not saying that it's okay. Remember, you're not going to forget that you want to quit. That is still over here, this little gem folded in a little jewelry box. Like, you know, in your heart of hearts, deep down, you know that you're not going to be here forever. You know that you're going to work on a plan to get out of here. But in the meantime, lowering our expectations takes away that frustrating gap, that frustration from things not living up to what we hope they'll be. We stop hoping they'll be more than they have been. And we continue to have this standard of what we want for ourselves and what we hope that we will someday be able to have in our life, but we stop expecting that that is going to happen here based on extensive experimentation, extensive experience in this situation. And finally, we can focus on building skills. We can look at what we're doing, all of the stupid stuff that we're doing that we feel like is pointless, as building skills. Skills that we might not want to be building. Nobody actually wants to build the skill of patience, because it means that you have to, in order to build that skill of patience, confront situations that make you impatient and work through that. We don't want to have to build our skill of being able to accept situations that we don't like and tolerate them, even when fundamentally, like, this isn't okay, and yet I have to tolerate it and accept it because it is reality. I'm not going to fight reality, but I have to build the skill of holding that contradiction. This isn't okay, and yet it's what's happening, and so I will accept it and act accordingly. Dealing with a situation that you don't want to be in leads to a whole suite of skills that you didn't want, and yet nonetheless are going to be useful for your development as a person, and they're going to be useful in any future role that you find yourself in, even if that role is a much better fit for you, in a much healthier environment with better coworkers. And you're not doing it for their benefit, right? You didn't ask for this situation so that you could grow as a person in these specific ways that you didn't actually want to grow as a person. But that's not, they're not giving you a gift. We're not going to frame it like that. It's just that you're taking the situation and you're going to take it for what it is and take from it what benefits you. You're looking at all of the injustices and indignities that you're having to experience. How does this help you grow? How does this help you get better? Which skills are you building that will continue to serve you? None of these approaches is going to fix the problem, because that's the whole point, is that you can't fix this problem. You can't fix a broken system. You can't make people behave better. All you can do is what you can do. And putting the focus on that, putting the focus on what is useful for you, what is manageable for you, what gives you the fortitude and comfort even to get through the day, that's where we want to put the energy. We've already given up on fixing the system. We've given up on fixing the situation, given up on navigating all of the things, the conflicting things that people are asking of us, the minefields we have to travel in order to be able to get the thing done that we're supposed to get done. But releasing ourselves from the obligation to fix it, and instead learning how to work within it and around it, can make the day-to-day just that tiny little bit easier. So I hope this helps for that, and I hope things get better for you soon.